What's up, everybody? It's God Brother, and today I want to talk about making mistakes. Now, mistakes have a way of forcing change in a person's life. Some mistakes are good, and others are bad. Now, they both could cause a heavy feel of discomfort, because whether they're good or bad, making a mistake just doesn't feel right, and they have little to no instant gratification. So, for you to see the results, you might wait months or years to come before you see it. So how do you tell the difference? Well, for me, a good mistake is one that has a positive effect on a person's future. They they tend to demand that you remove any kind of dependency or attachment to something or someone. And when it comes to the logistics of achieving a goal, they can highlight and refine variables that either weren't there or they were very vague beforehand. Now, some examples that you might see of making good mistakes is that you start to make progress in small amounts. Now, I know we live in a fast food culture, that everything has to be microwavable, and you have to be able to do everything by pulling a device from your hip or from your purse, and you have to be done with it within 3 minutes. Despite of that, the reality is progress is a slow process. So you'll have a very unique mindset when it comes to being compared with the mass majority. And another example that you're making good mistakes is, even though you have a unique mindset, you'll still be able to collaborate with other people genuinely, where two people will make a partnership that is mutually beneficial while still being themselves and being able to respectfully disagree about everything else. Now, a bad mistake is very hard to recover from, and they frequently produce negative results. They basically create cycles that just go around and around, and either everything stays equally as bad the next time the cycle comes around, or they get worse. Now, some examples of when you're making a bad kind of mistake are investing in something that doesn't reinvest in you or doesn't invest in itself. That is the number one thing. And we see it so often, but yet a lot of people still take that for granted. They don't break it down in that kind of simple of a mental outlook. And then the second thing would be, see, for me, sometimes I think some mistakes are kind of like warning signs, where the world is trying to warn you that you're on the wrong path, you're on the wrong mindset, or you're just aligned with the wrong people. Without getting too spiritual, basically they can serve as omens. For example, if you're an athlete and you train and then you play, you could suffer from an injury, but you didn't do it while you were training or playing. You did it when you fell down some steps. It would seem completely random. And this kind of warning may not apply to everyone, but it's something that shouldn't be overlooked either, because they might be trying to tell you something in an indirect way. Now, something that I've seen people do that, honestly, this scares me the most, is they become very comfortable in situations where they don't make any mistakes at all. And then they completely avoid situations where they would make mistakes. So basically, they create this giant bubble, they insert themselves inside of it, and they never leave it. And that is the worst thing a person can do. Because if you're not making any mistakes, you're never learning. If you're never learning, then you're never growing. And if you're never growing, you're never making any progress. So it's kind of like you're still trapped in a cycle, because everything stays stagnant, where it's not negative or toxic or harmful, but it's not progressive either, which to some people can be interpreted just as bad as negative, or if not slightly less, or if not more. So, I mean, the trick is honestly to distinguish between the two, because we all make mistakes. We're all students of life. And the second thing would be to learn how to apply the results or what you've learned from those mistakes and apply them to your life and execute and see what kind of difference they make. in small steps. It doesn't have to be anything major. Just any kind of application. Because honestly, not making any mistakes and not learning and not growing is probably the worst mistake a person can make. Peace.